Good afternoon. I certainly hope there's more interest in doing internships at international organizations than I think 6 people online, but then there are so many more opportunities for you. I'm Jean Dupré. I am the Senior Manager for Education and Training here at CAS. I came from a diplomatic background. I worked for the South African Ministry for Foreign Affairs for about 20 years, then came to CNS and then left for Austria, this Comprehensive Nuclear Test Ban Treaty, and I'm back now. When I worked here at CNS before, I was in charge of the International Organizations and Non-Proliferation program, which included internships. So I've worked with students as the person who organizes the interns, but I've also been on the receiving end of the interns when I worked at the CTBTO. And as I'll say during my presentation, I have come to value CNS interns, and I do not like the word interns. I'd rather use young professionals as exactly that. Especially when you do your studies here, you are a little different than students from other universities, and organizations value that. And you will find that when you do decide to go on an internship, you'll realize that as soon as you get there. But let me just go around the room. Maybe I'll start with those of you who are online. If you could briefly introduce yourself and kind of just tell me, why you're interested in internships. So I see here Shizuka. You're muted. Hi, you go. Hi. Go ahead.
Introduction. Okay, can you hear me? I'm in
yes.
a different school right now, and I don't know whether the background noises are okay.
We can hear you. Go ahead.
Can you? Okay, cool. Yeah. My name is Shizuka. I'm from Hiroshima, Japan. I am the first year student of NPTS. The reason I joined this info session is because I'm interested in some of the organizations like CTBTO, UNIDIR, and UNODA, because I know some people work there. So I just joined the session to know about this opportunity. Thank you.
Okay, well, nice to meet you. Charles.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I'm on a different computer. I'm actually about to leave for the fall break. I'm Charles Jenkins. I'm a final semester student here at MIIS and NPTS. And I actually originally got my master's in diplomacy in Geneva. And I have a lot of interest in actually moving back there because I really do enjoy the city. And really just Europe in general.
Great. It's a great program, the one that you completed in Geneva. So I've actually given some lectures there. So that's fantastic. Great. Jenna.
Hi, everyone. I know a few familiar faces in the group. I'm Jenna. I'm from Phoenix, Arizona, and I'm a first semester NPTS.
Okay. Who else is online?
Hi, Jessica. Hi.
Yes, Jessica, please. Can't see you.
Yes, sorry. I have my camera off and I will.
Okay, that's no problem.
So my name is Jessica Juarez. This is my 3rd semester at MIS. I am the Non-Proliferation Tourism Studies program, and I am focusing a lot on the non-pro side. And the reason why I'm here is because I feel like I have mastered being a student right now. And so I want to become a young professional out in the real world. And I believe this is the perfect opportunity for me to do so.
Good. Anyone else online? No. Okay. So I'm going to start in the class. We have 3 students here. So please.
Yes. My name is Carlos Guzman, and I'm a first semester NPTS student. I am from Florida originally, But I came here for the session because I'm really interested in starting a young professional experience in the field. I graduated with international studies and I want to continue my education here and see where different experiences will take me in the field.
Mm-hmm. Hi.
Hi, I'm Sana. I'm from India and I'm a first semester PTS student. I graduated with a master's degree in international relations from LSE. And
from where?
London School of Technology.
Okay.
And,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And now I would like to work. I'm here at this info session because I'm very keen to work in the UNODA or an intern there because I like the work that they do, and I'm hoping I could try and get the opportunity to intern there, hopefully.
Good. So you are at least one of two Indian students on campus at the moment.
Yes.
Which is great. Non-Proliferation students. I don't know if there are any others. So that's fantastic. Great. Nice to meet you.
My name is Dana. I'm a third semester PTS student. I'm focusing on non-proliferation issues, and I've really loved all of the classes I've taken at school, and I'm excited to become a professional. And I think any of these places would be amazing places to intern.
Good. Okay. I have a whole bunch of slides here, and I hate PowerPoint slides, but they serve a purpose in that I can share it with you, and you don't have to worry about making too many notes. So this is not a lecture; it's simply to give you an overview of what's out there. So please interrupt with a small group, even though we are thousands and thousands of miles apart. Then please do not hesitate to. And those online, if I don't see you, just speak up. Okay. All right. So I think it's important when you consider doing an internship or being a young professional out there, is that you need to do it for the right reasons. And so the opportunities that are offered here are basically to provide you with the opportunity to gain professional experience by doing substantive work. Graduate level interns are not the interns that make photocopies, right? Now, I must tell you, I have worked in the field for 32 years, and I still make a lot of photocopies. So it comes with the territory, but this is not what an internship is about. It's about getting professional experience in the field, but also practical experience. As you know, Middlebury Institute is kind of unique that you have practitioners like myself, but mixed with academia, and that's what I think also draws students here. But this is an opportunity for you to actually gain practical experience in the field and to apply your academic knowledge. And not only kind of to see how it works, but to some effect contribute to the work of the organization. And that's very important. I mean, we spoke just as before we started. You say you came here because you want to make a contribution to the field, and I think that's everyone's goal. And to some extent, even in a small way, you will make a contribution if you do an internship. You better believe that, because you're not going to get paid, and you're going to work very long hours. So you have to have some motivation what you're doing that. You would obviously also be offered the opportunity to conduct your own field research. Although internships are very busy, but we encourage you to use the opportunity to, at least, if you don't complete a piece of separate research, to use the opportunity to conduct interviews, obviously see what kind of documentation you can get in your area. So I'll speak a little bit about that. And then finally, and definitely not the least, but I would say probably the most important part for me, looking at internship, is to build your professional network. I can certainly give you some tips at some point on how to do that, but the network is really important. I mean, you all have heard that we speak colloquially of the Ms. Mafia. Well, the Ms. Mafia is out there, and you are part of it. And you will find if you're on an internship, in fact, many of the internship opportunities are created by the Ms. Mafia. I was one of them who, had Ms. students work for me at CTBTO. But this creates that opportunity to now, meet diplomats, meet scientists, or whoever in the field, and who knows down the road when you're going to be able to, or when you are an opportunity to apply for a job, you may encounter these people. So you are all. Is there anyone who's going to do the IPSS program that's online over here, the International Professional Service Semester program? All right. So I'm not going to spend too much, but there's another program administered by GSIPM, focusing basically it's just like a semester away. All right. So you don't take leave of absence, which you have to take for the CNS one. So I'll just focus on the CNS one. So it's typically offered twice a year. So in the fall, August to December, and in the spring, January to more or less May, June. I have to say from the outset, and I'll say it again, that the opportunities that we offer are linked to, and are basically offered by the organizations. Right? So all the organizations offer internships. So the duration of the internship is determined by the organization. In all the years that I've worked on the internships and worked with interns, I've always said and felt that an internship shorter than 4 months is really not worth your while nor the effort by the organization. It takes, say, a month, at least a month, for you to get settled in. Right? The organization trains you and so on. And then, you start working, and then, you kind of started winding down. So ideally, you want to be on an assignment for about 5 to 6 months. So first year or second year, that's fine. We have students here, your first semester, so you would be aiming at perhaps the spring of next year or the fall of next year. That's fine. Highly preferred that you have the introduction to WMD course already completed by the time that you go into it, because you want to know the basics already, right? Then you're going to take leave of absence from your academic study, with the exception of the NGIMO students, where this is a part of the dual degree program, so the internship actually counts towards that. If you take leave of absence, you'll obviously not pay tuition to Ms. You will also not get academic credit, and if you get financial aid, that will not be applied. However, you can apply for financial aid to support your internship. That's separate. Academic requirements. So if you go online, I'll talk about it in a minute on how to apply. You are encouraged to write, and it's not required, but encouraged to write a research paper because you're going to actually have some unique opportunities. Often you'll find that you can't really publish the paper while you're on an assignment, but when you're back here, as long as you're not hypercritical of the organization, and please come in and talk, kind of share things that you were privy to in a private setting. These are opportunities for you to. And we've had interns that return, and CNS offer all sorts of seminars, lunchtime seminars, and we've had interns that come back and make a presentation on their experience. CNS will offers to pay, and that is the final decision of that lies with Dr. Potter, $1,000 a month stipend for up to 6 months, as well as airfare up to $1,500. That's typically enough, even if you go to Europe. How do you apply? Yes, please.
Say a few things about the IPSS program as well.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. In fact, I managed that program many years ago. And if any of you remember Professor Ed Lawrence, he was a legend on campus. He's now retired. He started the program I took over the management from. So the difference is that it's offered in the spring only. It's for second semester students, and you are enrolled in MIS. So you get credit not for your internship, but for the research that you conduct. So you have to prepare a research paper. And then there's, I think they've changed the program slightly. If you're interested, Caroline Meyer is the coordinator. There's typically sort of a pre-departure program, and there's also kind of as a post-internship event. But if you do that, you don't qualify for the stipend because you're still studying. It's part of so. But the opportunities are available at all the international non-proliferation organizations. So Caroline will do the selection process, the preparation of all of that. We do the placement of the interns. So at the end, on assignment, there's no difference. The difference lies on this side. And the main difference is one, you have to take leave of absence, and the other one, you are actually still enrolled, right? Did that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
So, all right, application process. So I'm not going to click on these things because if you click on it, then it's difficult to get back. So on the CNS website is the application form. It's very, very basic. Basically, your personal details. I'd like to know, what your semester plan is, and which organizations you're interested in. I think we ask for 3 in order of preference. But then you have to also submit to me a study plan and an unofficial transcript. I'm not looking for an official transcript. And the reason is I'd like to see that you have your core courses already. You have taken them or you are planning to take them. I have met many perpetual interns. And the opportunities are there to say, well, I've done one internship, now I've networked, and there's another one, and I don't have a job lined up yet, and so on. Before you know it, you are away from campus for 18 months, and you're like, not sure I want to finish this degree because I have something lined up already. We don't want that. We need a personal statement, no more than 500 words. Like to know from you, why do you want to do this internship? Why do you feel this is an opportunity to advance your career, your studies, whatever your interest is? 2 recommendation letters, one from Ms. faculty or staff, CNS staff. I don't know, do we have any MGIMO students online? If not, but MGIMO students, obviously MGIMO faculty as well. I just asked that it be sent to me in English. I do not read Russian. So, and then, of course, your preferred semester. So if we are now recruiting actively for next semester, for the spring semester, or if you feel that you want to go in the fall, that's fine. Just let me know about that. And then, of course, the choices of organizations. So the deadline for the spring is the 11th of November to have all these documents in. If you don't have recommendations letters in by then, that's fine. We can work with you to have that. The reason why we need to do that urgently is because the organizations are starting to look at interns for next year. Now, I have to, and I'll say it at the end, all the organizations that we work with have their own internship application process. So I heard several talk about UNODA. UNODA, you go to the employment page of the UN, and I'll open them at the end, and you'll see there are opportunities to apply for internships. You have to do that. You can't wait for us to go through the process and then apply, because if you're not put on a list that's selected by the UN Personnel Office, then you will not be in that cohort of applicants. So sometimes, and it's happened before, that most students apply for an internship through the UN, through OPCW, whatever the organization is, and is offered the internship, but is not offered the internship from our side. That's fine too. You have the internship, but we're not going to pay you a stipend because we have limited. So we can only, UNODA, we typically offer 2. UNIDIR, we may offer 2, but most of the other organizations, we only offer 1 student. But if you can find it yourself, then I will still support you. I will still write letters and make sure that the organization know that you are come from this. As I mentioned, minimum period is really 4 months. Then all of the candidates will be interviewed by me, and then I will make a recommendation to Dr. Potter, and we will then agree and let you know. Normally, once the process starts, it takes about a week to have everyone interviewed and the recommendations made. But even if when you sit here and you think ODA, go and look and see if and you have to look at the websites quite regularly, because what is not there today might be there tomorrow. Right? And so, as I said, only candidates that have been selected by CNS would qualify for the stipends, but that doesn't mean that you cannot do the internship separately. All right, so let's talk a little bit about the various opportunities. So I'm going to go over it, and I'll give a little bit of background on each. You may not be familiar with all the organizations. So, and as I said, I will share the slides, and the recording is there. So the Office of Disarmament Affairs in New York has the Weapons of Mass Destruction branch. In fact, there are 2 interns, but 1 intern typically works in their strategic planning and technology division. But next year is the NPT review conference, and they always look for, in fact, the Secretary General of the conference calls me for interns. I don't call him. So it's so popular. So they very much rely on it. Here I must emphasize that because the conference will start on, if everything is agreed, on the 4th of January, those 2 interns will have to be in place before then. And I'll say this later again, but this is, at this stage, I think all the internships are still virtual, which is challenging, but we will work with you on that. UN office in Geneva, so the Department of Disarmament Affairs has an office in Geneva, and that office typically services the Conference on Disarmament, and that only operates in the spring. But it also offer services to the Biological Weapons Convention, which is called the Implementation Support Unit. It's a very, very small unit. And also the office at the United Nations Institute for Disarmament Affairs, which is a research center for the UN on disarmament. IAEA, very, very difficult to get into because it's in safeguards. It is new, but the guy in charge is a Ms. Alam. And so I'll say something about that. CTBTO, there are 2 opportunities there. Organization Prohibition of Chemical Weapons in The Hague, Vienna Center for Disarmament and Non-Proliferation, our sister organization in Vienna. Great opportunity, not only for research, but you get access to a lot of meetings. OPANAL, the Organization for the Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons in Latin America, Caribbean, Mexico City. One of our oldest internships, in fact, with the IAEA. And we have 5 staff members at CNS that are former interns. So I remember them all. I will tell them who you are, and you can go and talk to them. And then if you're interested in the technical aspect of reactors, we have an opportunity at the Czech Technical University in Prague, where you can actually work at and with a reactor. So let me briefly go over these. So the WMD branch is the main part of the Office of Disarmament Affairs dealing with weapons of mass destruction. And they do a lot of analytical work, reporting, and support work. So the WMD Branch is also the secretariat for the NPT conferences. So an intern there, this is guys, Vasilios, he was a student of mine way back, a Greek national, do research, and that's why they like Miss students, because you are excellent in that. We all get trained in that, especially on analyzing current WMD issues. For instance, there's a daily news bulletin called the Disarmament Digest that's published by ODA, and that's normally put together by the Middlebury intern, which is pretty cool because your name gets attached to it. It's kind of cool. Briefing materials. So you sit in meetings, and there are daily, sometimes memos go up to the High Representative for Disarmament Affairs. So that's, and again, they value, because our students do that and write well. So. And then assist the MPT Secretariat. The first committee is currently meeting. First committee is one of the six committees of the General Assembly, first committee dealing with disarmament and international security. So the intern would, obviously, if you were there now, you would be involved with that. You do briefings, you take notes, you brief senior staff on what transpired. You actually assist sometimes with delegations in drafting resolutions, prepare reports of the meeting, etc. And in some cases, you are also involved in organizing workshops and regional events. So ODA is typically one of the top internships, especially during the NPT years. So for that reason, there will be many applicants. So I spoke to the head of the office there yesterday, and it is all online. The last intern that went was Colin McDowell, and he sat here in Monterey and did his internship there. So, Office of Disarmament Affairs, mainly on the Conference on Disarmament. As you may know, the Conference on Disarmament is the premier body of the UN designated to negotiate arms control and disarmament treaties, such as the NPT, CTBTO, all these treaties were negotiated there. They've been in a stalemate since '98, so no negotiations are taking place, but they are meeting, and the conference meets from January until about May, June. And so there's a lot of activity. So great opportunity for networking. All the ambassadors that deal with the NPT, the main players come from Geneva, not New York. So personally, if you are interested in getting the insides of all these policies, New York is not the place to be, Geneva is. So they support not only the work of the CD, but also in general the Office of Disarmament in Geneva, and for instance, the Biological Weapons Convention conference meets in Geneva, and a number of others as well. You also have to bear in mind that once you are in the UN system, if you work at the UN in New York or Geneva, you have access to all sorts of other meetings. You're going to wear a UN internship badge. Typically, that gives you, unless those meetings are specifically restricted, you can actually attend some very interesting meetings that might be completely outside non-proliferation, but that are interesting. So the CD intern, this is pretty cool, I must tell you. This is Helena Ashbeck, and she's now working for the nuclear lab up in Chicago. This is the Conference on Disarmament, this little hall here, a very, very austere building, in fact, where the League of Nations Council met, way back in the early 1900s. to sit in that room and realize that you are here where all these treaties are negotiated is worth itself. But it is quite an impressive facility. So obviously, intern there will have access to that. So while the Conference on Disarmament may not be actively negotiating, they have a lot of discussions on a lot of issues. And so the intern will be very much involved with that. Also in Geneva is a very small support unit called the Implementation Support Unit. It's not actually a part of the UN. It's funded through voluntary contributions by members of the BWC. The BWC has no verification system and it doesn't have a secretariat. And so there are about three substantive officers and a support officer and our intern. And they typically look at reports that come in from member states on how they implement the convention. And so because it's such a small unit, the intern typically gets involved in quite substantive work. So if you're interested in the BWC in this field, really consider this opportunity. So again, also especially research on issues related to the BWC, attend the meeting, often assist the chairman or the chairwoman of these meetings directly. So consider that. Then UNIDIR. I have to tell you that if I am a student and I look at this full spectrum, I would put UNIDIR very high on my list. So based in Geneva, but it is a UN think tank funded by UN members as well as voluntary contributions. Publishes extensively. If you go on their website, a wide range, do a lot of work on cybersecurity, space weapons, obviously nuclear, the full spectrum, including conventional arms. But it's autonomous in that normally when you look at, we used to say something like UN speak, everything is very cleaned up, very politically correct. Being a think tank, they're able to, do assessments, and they're not necessarily hypercritical of any particular state, but they offer far more substantive information than any of the other UN divisions. So there you get opportunity to work alongside with top experts, either people from that used to be diplomats or scientists, or so these are just a sort of a selection of the program focus areas. So also, as I said, in Geneva, you'll have access to all the other meetings as well. But please do not forget about UNIDIR. So the IAEA, obviously, is one of the largest UN bodies. It's in Vienna. Is very much involved in the NPT because the IAEA verifies safeguards. And kind of when it comes to the NPT meetings, the IAEA is always involved. Wide spectrum. So we've had interns in the IAEA that worked way back in the Director General's office. We had interns that worked in public information. And last year, the year before, we started putting interns because of our former student who is now mid-level senior official, who is in the Department of Safeguards in the Implementation Support Division, where they provide assistance to states in implementing safeguards. And so there's links here. The IAEA pays a stipend, and if the IAEA pays a stipend or any organization, then we don't pay the stipend unless there's a difference. So we'll pay it up. The only problem with the IAEA internship is twofold. One is not problems, it's a thing that you need to be aware of. They prefer a 12-month internship because it's highly technical, and therefore you need a kind of a technical background, or at least have taken some of the safeguard courses. So this is an opportunity if you're interested to look forward and make sure that you take some of those courses. Strong preference for women candidates from underrepresented countries in the UN system, meaning if you're an American male, probably not going to be very successful. So that doesn't mean you should apply. Really, really cool place to work, but very difficult to get in. So, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't apply. PrepCom, so I actually took the slide from one of my presentations. I worked there for a long time. So the picture in the middle is the entire organization. At 260 people, we used to call it the family photo. So the PrepCom for the Comprehensive Nuclear Test Ban Treaty Organization is although preparatory, is a fully fledged organization. It's been in place since 1997. And it oversees basically the monitoring stations. There are 300 and something monitoring stations all over the world. Very technical organization, but the division that I worked with, or that I was in charge for, was external relations and legal. And then there's also public relations. So very much involved in promoting the entry into force of the treaty and the public side of the treaty. But at the same time, you get access to, I was there working with, doing Fukushima, for instance. I was there doing 5 of the North Korean nuclear tests and many other things. Also sits in the same building complex as the IAEA, so the access is the same. We encountered the Ms. Mafia. The picture up on top is with the executive secretaries. I didn't put it there because I stand next to him. That's Secretary General Ban Ki-moon. But the picture was taken by the intern who met the Secretary General of the UN as well. So there, you formulate, you work with the External Relations Division, formulate papers. I had students write speeches for the executive secretary, the head of the organization. He would go to a meeting, and there was the previous guy. He had a strange sense of humor, and he would say, instead of acknowledging people that wrote the paper, not me, he would say, "Oh, this paper was written by that young student there." So there are opportunities to get acknowledged like that. The organization organizes a lot of seminars and training. Interns are involved with that. And it's pretty cool. It's really not because I worked there for a long time and worked for the organization to establish the organization for even longer. It is because of the technologies. It is a cool place to work. So I mentioned the Technical University is based in Prague, and the picture here is the guy in the yellow jacket is an intern and is operating the reactor. Very cool. The only caveat is you have to be part of the practicum. The practicum that is a 3-week program in January in Prague. And then one of those students who are interested will then be selected, sometimes 2, to stay on for the remainder of the semester in Prague. And actually not only work alongside the scientists in the reactor, but get additional training, formal coursework, and also on occasion go to Vienna and work with the IAEA. So if you are interested in safeguards, if you have an interest in nuclear science, even if you're not a nuclear scientist, consider this an unusual opportunity. We've had also students that completed, she was 2 years ago, she chaired the NPT simulated review conference. She was in Prague and had no prior technical backgrounds. OPCW bans chemical weapons, implement the chemical weapons conventions based in The Hague. Very much in the news because of, Syria won the Nobel Peace Prize a few years ago. Very important organization. I find, unfortunately, that the focus here in MIS has shifted. There's not as many students interested in CWC. I actually worked for a long part of my life to help set up this organization. They do really important and interesting work if you are interested in chemical weapons, of course. I'm not going to go through all of this, but there's actually two kind of opportunities. There's a government relations section and also an office for strategic policy. So, and then VCDNP. So VCDNP is basically CNS's office in Vienna. Sits in this tall building that you see in the picture, and to the left, the building that you first see is the CTBTO building, and the building right next to it is the IAEA building, and that's the Vienna International Center. So our colleagues at the VCDNP it's headed by Elena Sokova, and the husband of Dr. Nikolai Sokov, and Gohar, and I've always misspelled her name, so I'm not even going to try, who is now the Director for International Organizations and Non-Proliferation. She's a former student. She's a senior officer there, and we have a whole range of staff that interact with the international organizations, attend meetings, but more importantly, they offer seminars and courses at the VCDNP where they engage diplomats and officials from the organizations. And so a great place to not only network, but do active research, because that's what VCDNP does. So if you are working in ODA, or working at the IAEA, or working in CTBTO, opportunities to do active research is going to be minimal. If you work at UNIDIR, you're going to do research for them. If you align it with your own research, fine. VCDNP is a little different. So you get more opportunities to do research at VCDNP. You think, it is basically the only think tank of this kind in Vienna, if not in that part of Europe. Think tanks in London are maybe the exception. Then OPANAL is the agency to implement the Latin American and Caribbean nuclear weapon-free zone, the Treaty of Tlatelolco. And it's based in Tlatelolco, which is now a suburb of Mexico City. We've had a relationship with OPANAL for many, many years. The requirement there is, of course, you have to be able to speak Spanish. And they rely quite a bit on our interns to help train or educate member delegations on the NPT and so on. So very cool place. We offer every year a course for Latin American and Caribbean diplomats in Mexico City. The last 2 years it's been online. And OPANAL is one of the partners. And so the guy who is in charge of the course now on OPANAL side is a former student. And so Ms. Mafia is out there. So if you're interested in kind of more the regional perspectives, and of course if you speak Spanish, great opportunity. Since we have a Japanese student, the last intern that we had at OPANAL was a Japanese national who happened to speak Spanish. And also because the office is small, they say if you're a small fish in a big pond, you kind of disappear. But if you're an equally small fish in a small pond, you actually have a much better opportunity to get involved in things. All right, to wrap up, where are interns? They're all over the place. So we have interns serving foreign ministries, obviously State Department, at the IAEA, many. The CTBTO, I hired 2 interns, former interns, to work as permanent staff, and both of them worked there for more than 10 years, long after I left. We have several former interns that work for the national labs, for a variety of other institutions. We have 5 here. So Sarah Bitgood, Masaka Toki, Gohar, Eduardo Fuji, Michael Dutchman, Kim, who sits on top there. They all work there as interns, either CTBTO, UNODA, all over the place. So all over in the U.S. State Department, Department of Defense. In fact, many places where you go and people sit around, like what we did, introduce yourself, go around the table. Often you find not one, but several people. Oh, I graduated from Ms. and such time, and I did an internship here. Also important, if you're interested in the Presidential Management Fellowships and some of these other fellowships, internship helps, definitely. I know of at least 2 interns that are in 2 different U.S. intelligence agencies. We don't necessarily know where the others are, but so things to consider. You have to figure out for yourself, can you make this commitment? Can you take a semester off? Right? Can you afford to miss some courses? So Dana's and Dr. Potter's simulation course, right? That's only offered in the fall. So if you are interested in doing that course, then you have to obviously make sure that you do an internship in the spring. Other courses are also offered. I will have to be very blunt with you, it is expensive. CNS offers $1,000. It's a drop in the bucket. It's expensive to live in these cities. Now you can do an internship virtual, so we will pay for those who qualify for the stipend. We will pay the stipend. So I think most of them are virtual. Some of the European ones might prefer that you are there. So, so to give you some insight, so in the UN, even the most senior officials only go into the office maybe 2 or 3 times a week, and they rotate in and out. And that's the same in Geneva, but it all depends on the regulations of those particular cities and countries that the organizations are based in. Housing is difficult, but the Ms. Mafia is always there. I've had an intern in my apartment for a few days in Vienna, and the students that are the other of staff of organizations, current interns. So if you're interested in an internship, start thinking about to engage the Mafia. And you can talk to anyone at CNS about, do you know someone in Vienna or New York or whatever, and we will probably suggest some names. Visas, that's your own responsibility to secure a visa. As I said, CNS will pay for a return ticket up to $1,500, and we ask that you do not pay your own ticket. Under some circumstances, we will do that. Just makes it really complicated to get reimbursement, because Middlebury works with a financial management system that I spend more time dealing with that than doing substantive work. So it's much easier if I call on the travel agent and say, book so many tickets, and I can reconcile all of that at once, as opposed to trying to figure out what's your bank account, where to send you a check, and so on. It's complicated. Health insurance, you are also responsible for that. That can be expensive. But depending on your own health insurance, you may have opportunities to extend it. And then, of course, you're going to postpone your graduation date. In some cases, you may miss your graduation because you'll be on assignment. Now, with everything online, that may not be the case. But I don't think there's one student. You say you'll be graduating, right? Who was this? Was this Charles? Online? Maybe we missed someone, but I recall someone said that he's graduating next year. No? All right.
I'll be graduating in May.
You'll be graduating in May. Yeah. So
I think Jessica as well.
yeah. So you know, if you are going on assignment physically somewhere.
Yes. Sorry, my headset wasn't quite connected, but yes,
Yeah.
I'm graduating.
So you've graduated already?
No, I will be graduating this December.
Yeah. So so for students that, like you, who will graduate this December, we typically make an exception there because you apply when you are still a student, so that's fine. And of course, so if you graduate and say you are posted in Geneva, I mean, you can obviously fly back to come and, or you can cut your internship shorter, but typically you still have another 2 months to go. So another thing to consider, that you may miss your graduation being physically here for that. And these are some resources. Again, I'll share the slides with all of you. And I encourage you just to give you just an indication of what this looks like. So all things being equal, the page should open up. Okay, nothing is. Okay. All right, I apologize for that, but I will. Okay, let me ask, I'll take over that. Are there any questions from anyone?
Do you have any more information on which internships will be virtual versus in person, or is it kind of?
This stage, I can tell you, ODA is definitely virtual, and all the UN-based internships are virtual.
Okay.
I have not been told what's going on in Vienna. I'm trying to get, so our colleagues at VCDNP are in the office. So VCDNP is not virtual, is there. And I think that at least last year, they rotated in and out. But most of the organizations, the IAEA would definitely be in person, and they would require, even if you are not in person, that you live in Vienna, because they don't want to deal with the time difference. So, I think you can kind of say anything in the United States will be virtual. Geneva, there might be exceptions, again, depending on what the situation, but I wouldn't say you should let yourself be led by which one is virtual. If you are interested in internship, I will work with you and we'll make it work. And if you are concerned about traveling there, then we'll have to see how we can accommodate that. I have Shizuka, go ahead.
So I have a question about how can we reach out to those who have worked, who have experienced these internships before, or somebody who are in current intern program right now?
Well, in fact, currently we don't have any interns. We didn't have any interns this whole semester. If you are interested in a specific location, I'll give you the names of those, including, as I said, people who are working here at CNS. That's the best way. I mean, we have a long list, but I prefer to just put you in contact with particular people.
Thank you.
All right. Any other question?
Yeah, sorry.
Yes, please.
So I had initially a few weeks ago spoken to Elizabeth as well, and she said that they had an opportunity in the UNODA, but it was for the conventional arms branch. So you mentioned that they have an opening now for the WMD branch. So is it possible that that this branch is particularly more competitive, and if it gets filled up, then they'd offer us positions in other branches within the UNODA?
Okay, actually it was because of Professor Ed Lawrence, who worked for a long time on small arms. He was a consultant for ODA on small arms. So that they have that relationship with that branch. So because CNS only deals with WMD, so we only support the WMD internships. You will not qualify for the CNS if you're interested in that. But in fact, the very first CNS, very first Miss student that I met, I was the South African representative at the UN Conference on Small Arms and Light Weapons in 2001, and encountered this student on the podium because I went to say that South Africa should be on the speakers list, and she maintained the speakers list, and it was highly professional, and commented to one of the ODA officials, this is a new staff member. And still, no, that's a Miss student. Great. They do great work, but it's not part of our program. So. Okay, any other questions from anyone? If not at this stage, please don't hesitate to contact me. My email detail is just jdupree. Oh, hang on, there was a hand. Who had a hand up?
I had my hand up. You just answered the question.
Yes, please go ahead.
No, you answered the question so we could reach you on email.
Okay, so I'll share it, but it's jdupreez @middlebury.edu. My office is on the second floor here at CNS. If you take the stairs up, right there. So please don't hesitate to contact me if you want more information and so on. My advice to you is, if you're interested in any of these internships, start applying through the websites if they are available. And also, when you do that, drop me a line so that I know that you are kind of in the process. And then, even if you are not interested in the internship next year, at least get the application to me. You don't necessarily need to submit all the documents, because I keep a roster of students that are interested. So I can tell ODA that, don't worry, we will have someone for you already 6 months in advance. So, all right. Okay, very well. Thank you, everyone, and all the best.